Good day, good day. How are we? How is everybody? My name is Elaine Noura, and I'm here today to just to reach out to everybody. It's been such a long time since I did my last podcast. I believe the last one was probably last year, and I just really wanted to reach out to all of you because so much has happened in my life since my ordination, and it continues to unfold. And in fact, to be honest with you, what has been happening is the continuing or the continual stripping down or stripping back of identity. And it has been happening organically. It has been happening in an involuntary way, even to the point of cutting my hair, cutting my locks. I found myself in front of the mirror with the scissors in one hand and a lock in another, and within 10 minutes they were all gone. And I have to say, it is one of the best things I've ever done in my life, and it has really freed up more space for me to be completely present within my body. And also what I really want to say is that it feels to me, what I know to be true. Well, actually, first of all, I should say that whilst I was in the seminary, what the main learning was that whatever I had hope in became something that I now have faith in, and whatever I had faith in became a sense of knowing. So I reached a sense of mastery, and whatever I had a sense of knowing has now become just so completely natural and free forming, and it feels really amazing to be in my body. And I also feel that over the past few years I have transcended so many aspects of what one might classify ourselves as being, like race or gender or sexuality. And it really feels as if, well, what I know to be true is that I feel as if I have transcended gender and sexuality, definitely ethnicity and race. So in other words, who is communicating to you right now is just the soul being that feels so completely comfortable in this body. And also what seems to be happening is that if there are any physical symptoms that occur, they don't hang around. It's like they come and go almost in the speed of light. So nothing is hanging around, nothing is lurking. So I was stopped today whilst I was doing my shopping and said, "Oh, it's you. I didn't recognize you without your head wrap and the mark that I normally wear on my forehead." And I said, "Yes, it is me." And I went on to explain that I actually feel more of who I am, and part of the reason why I haven't been doing any podcasts is because I really needed to sit within myself and assimilate what is really going on for me. And what has been going on is actually coming to terms to realize that this whole spiritual endeavor, though in itself has brought me to this point, but what I realized that this spiritual endeavor was a cover for what was really going on the inside. So in other words, that part of me that one might call spirit or even spiritual was in some sense a cover for what was really going on and really difficult to navigate and to embrace or even to share and to talk about. And that was aspects of my soul, aspects of my inner ecology. And it's really interesting because having walked a spiritual path for such a long period of time, to get to the point where actually realizing, you know what, the most important experience that we're having here on earth is that of being human. In terms of our spirit being or our spiritual being, that is never touched, that is never affected. That is that part of us that is pure consciousness. On the other hand, what really makes us human and what has invariably been affected by life is our soul, our expression, what aspects of ourselves become deemed become deemed unacceptable or shameful, aspects of ourselves that we withhold. And that is what causes disease, that is what causes separation, that is what installs duality, right? And creates this dual within ourselves. So in fact, it's really breaking it down to the most simplest formula. And really, it's not to do with the spirit. It's not to do with the ego even. It's to do with the soul. If we don't really understand the nature of the soul and that part of us that responds to stimuli, right? Because we can look at the effects, but we really need to look at not even the cause, but the nature of the soul, right? So what is it that makes us feel contracted, or makes us feel fearful, or makes us feel that we need to be on the offensive or defensive or aggressive or all these sort of things? And that is because there is something that has been set up within ourselves that is out of resonance, and that part of us is our soul being. It's the essence of who we are. So really it doesn't matter how we dress ourselves, what we call ourselves. That is not who we are. Even my name, Elena Ra, is not who I am. Maybe it is. I don't know. But there's a real sense of really stripping everything back. And I am feeling really in the zone. I feel as if I have stepped into the quantum field, beyond the gap, or deeper into the gap and into this wonderful space of just simply being. And there's also a real sense of acknowledging the truth of everything being connected, that I am connected with everything and to everything. And the fact is that life isn't happening to me. I am life itself, right? And the more that I am able to remove myself from categories that are often created through dualistic, or the sense of separating things that are already complete and putting things in some sort of ordering. And that could be, my age and what sort of job I should have, all these things that I should be doing, or make me a good person or not person, a good person or a bad person, depending on somebody else's standard. And the fact is that we all have our own inner standard and value system within, but it has to come from our core self. And often it comes from us realizing that we can't measure up to external standards and values of social ordering and other people's expectations of ourselves. So anyway, I know I'm speaking really fast, but I don't want to keep you too long. And I really just want to share with you that everything is in divine order. And yes, there are people who are struggling. And I think part of the reason why that is because we really don't know the nature of our soul. And there's this sense of like freaking out because we have been operating mainly as mind-body beings, and that's actually 2D beings. And by being 2D beings, it gives us access to a 3D world. But to really be a 3D person is to incorporate the soul. And that means to sit in the soul and to understand the nature of the soul and to just feel at home, knowing that everything in life comes and goes, including our impulses and reactions or stimuli or whatever. Everything comes and goes. So by incorporating the soul into the mind and the body, we eventually become who we are designed to be, which are 3D beings, okay? So we can really exist within that triad, right? That trinity. And by doing so, that naturally gives us access to fourth dimension. Because once we arrive and we are complete within that trinity, that mind, body and soul, that then gives us access to the fourth dimension and of course the fifth dimension. So I think it is really important to note that there are misconceptions in regard to moving into 5D and who we are as human beings, and how we need to be doing all these mantras and how we need to be doing all this meditation and all this kind of stuff for us to reach that space. But I think it's a lot more fundamental and a lot more simple than that, which is just really allowing your soul to be fully expressed and to be that part of you that can tell you moment by moment how you're feeling, what feels good and what doesn't feel good, and for you to listen to that inner voice. That's where a lot of our inner guidance system resides within the soul, within the abdomen, from what I understand, or how I understand it to be. And that's our inner guidance system. So once we really understand that, and we realize there's actually nothing to fear, that we are life itself, and everything that we ever needed or require is already there. It's just a matter of reinstalling this, or actually just as simple as acknowledging it. By sitting within our soul and embracing everything that happens without attachment and without condition, knowing that everything comes and goes in terms of our reaction and things like that. And we can actually just simply be the observer, and that really opens us up to existing within the quantum field. And by incorporating the mind, body and the soul, this is the natural level of existence upon this planet. This is how all indigenous people existed, because once you are working as a mind, body and soul, and probably not in that order anyway, then that allows us to naturally tap into the soul of the land, and we listen to the spirit of the land and the ancestors. It immediately allows us to tap into that quantum field. And that is the naturalistic, if that is a word, modality, human modality, right? So, and it's from that place, then we can think of going into these other spheres of fifth dimensional, etc., etc. What's also quite interesting, and I'm going to stop in a minute, is that the difference between us and the ancestors and those people who are still living in indigenous communities is that we have in our hand not just, as we learn about our own inner technology, but other technology, synthetic technology. And it's really important at this point, as we evolve and move into the new world, that we have our own technology fully installed, and we have our own antennae and sensory systems working in a very sensitive, calibrated in a very sensitive way, so we know what is synthetic and what is naturally occurring and what is natural. So we can navigate through these times, because there are aspects of technology that's been introduced to the world that is synthetic, and it's not necessarily who we are. So I leave this with you. My name is Elena. My name is Elena Raab. Phone's going. I love you. Goodbye.